And what was the statistic? It takes
about 17 years for medical literature to be delivered to the masses.
What?
Yeah,
they
so
can
like
change something.
we're far behind what science is already out and saying.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? And it's just the process. It's like, it's not that it doesn't become popular, it's to it become accepted as a standard within the population itself. It's a 17-year process.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What do you guys do to like try and stay on top of that so that you're not living in 2008 or whatever that would be?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to stay up with like, the new literature that comes out on stuff. And then, it's easier for us to say right now because we just got out of school like 4 or 5 years ago. So we have the new information now. So I'm sure, in 10 years, it's going to be something where you have to just stay on top of it. You can't just keep living in what you learned 4 years ago.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always seeing some new thing on Instagram. Somebody doing some crazy protocol or some like movement or something. And I'm like, is there any merit to that? I never know because then it's like, couple of years down the road, you're like, okay, that seems like now there's a lot of people doing it. There's science on it or studies on it. How do you like weed out some of that shit? Because there's like people doing it for clout all the time.
Yeah. I mean, weeding it out is like the hardest part for sure. I mean, you got to challenge the standard to have innovation. You know what I mean? So, I mean, all in all, it's like, research isn't end all be all for sure. I mean, there's so much that goes into like the human body. Like people will like cite a study that is so concrete and it's like, I get it, understand it, and I agree. But at the same time, that doesn't work when you're talking to every single person, every individual person basis. You know what I mean? So, I mean, even like ourselves, like you said, like we have more so the new information that's actually out here, but at the same time, you still got to push innovation. You've been in here and you've done therapy. If you go to like a traditional therapy office, we're definitely not like them by any means. Like when it challenges, like when it comes to like movement, like we're big into movement literacy and movement variability. Like you got to be able to move in extreme capacities to kind of prepare yourself for the unknown. Like, you're talking about like injury prevention and stuff like that. I mean, really the way that you're going to get injured is if an external force is being placed on you when you're not ready and never exposed. So you got to prepare for like very awkward stuff. And that's not just, increased mobility and it's not increased strength. You got a positional strength. Like a lot of people in the baseball community, they try to do that, or even the rotational community, but you got to be able to expose in very awkward positions. Like a lot of the training style like Pat does, he's very resilient with his injuries because of those regions. Like he has excellent strength and conditioning coaches with him.
Interesting. What does that mean? Does that mean like sitting or moving in certain ways and then placing a load on it, or like, I don't know. What do you mean by that exactly?
Yeah. So, I mean, imagine like trying to bend and hold load at a bend. Like you're not typically exposed to that when you're doing like sagittal and frontal or even transverse plane, like actual exercising, like putting those into those positions, be able to hold them for a period of time. And then just like any other lift, like progressive overload on it, to start little and kind of build it up. So making it move funny, use it, and for one, it's really enjoyable to do once you get into it. And then you'll notice like some people, they just can't get into positions at all to do it. And then when you kind of expose it to them, you're like, see, this is probably what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've never been prepared. You've never been able to, think about like the sport of football. People get smacked and then they constantly bend into positions, so like preparing it for that.
Is this something that's taught in school? Like, did you guys learn this in school, or is it something you learned through
other people?
Anecdotes, or
just observing the right people and what works, and just taking a little bit of this from somebody, a little bit of that from somebody. I think that's something that like me and Jimmy do a really good job of too. Is like even like you're asking like, well, these protocols or these like literature, like how do you know which one's the right one and which one's not? But like at the same times, like, I have a patient comes in, they're like, I iced my knee and it felt better. Well, ice it then, right? Yeah. Like we're pretty good at not just being stuck in one way. Mm-hmm. So like a patient may be like, this works for me. okay, let that work for the patient. Don't try to change that all the time, right? You
Mhm.
can only advise people on like some good literature or good
Right.
movements, but some things may work for them that don't work for others. And it's not just trying to change that, but it's allowing to let what works for your patients, let it work.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like not giving too much power to data or like what other people are doing.
Mhm.
Like I heard this. He was talking more about like business, but it was a Jeff Bezos clip I saw, and he was like, when the data and the anecdotes don't match up, usually the anecdotes are right, meaning like something is wrong with the data probably. Because if you have so many people saying this one thing works, but the data doesn't quite match, then usually it's the people that are right most of the time.
Yeah,
I feel like that goes into a lot of fitness stuff too.
For sure.
for sure. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, like intuition. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I wholeheartedly believe that some people have better intuition than others when it comes to their body. Like some people, they don't like if they close their eyes and move their arm, they don't even know where it's at in space, you know. But some people can tell you exactly what's going on. They can pretty much diagnose themselves, and it's usually pretty accurate. I mean, obviously there's thresholds to that, but the intuition of what people, how they feel and how they move is like a big key for us. There's always an additive of what they say is like, listen to your patient. They'll tell you the answer.
Yeah.